Okay, and we are actually recording this time. Hello, everybody. Now, interestingly enough, that is the pack spanner, but I'm gonna click this button. There we go. There's Ange, and we need a little window capture. Let me get the music back on. We have lights, we have sound, we have blahage in the background. Window cap.
You can see in the very top of my screen, you can see Anya from Spy Family just kind of chilling.
Where? I don't see her. Hold on. Oh, yeah, there she is. Okay. So for anybody watching on the VOD, we can't actually see her. She's just so I can on the Discord camera, but not on this camera. She's just off screen. Can you take her down and show everybody?
Which direction?
Just in front of you. Yeah, there she is. Okay. Little Anya pop up.
Someone bought me Anya from a convention, and she sits on my notebook, and it's usually in frame for AZR. Yeah,
so for anyone that can't see that, it's really funny. She's on a bookshelf, just like, or on a stack of books, like looking over the books. It's pretty great. We love such dressing. Anyway, hello everybody. I'm Aaron, Aaron Spencer, or Essy. My pronouns are she, her, sometimes they. I am the creative director and co-admin of ESP Enchanting Sorcery Productions, and we're going to talk about some anime today, with specifically Anime Boston 2024 and 2025, with a little bit of 2023 interview anecdotes sprinkled in. I am the host facilitator as well, and I'm going to turn it over to Ange from AnimeZingRadio, who's going to tell you all about herself and a little bit about AnimeZingRadio. So go ahead, Ange.
I'm Angela Rose, colloquially referred to as Ange, pronouns she, her, and I am co-host of AnimeZingRadio, which is a podcast that is live Sunday nights on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, where we talk about anime, conventions, and the pop culture surrounding all of that. The audio version's also available after the fact on Spotify and wherever else you get your audio podcasts.
Wherever fine podcasts are available. Thank you, Critical Role, for that one. The channel. I haven't actually watched Critical Role since I almost said season 2. Since campaign 2. That was the last time I actually sat down to watch a Critical Role campaign.
I have not actually sat and watched.
I didn't watch one either.
I know of it, and I know that a Tales of a Stinky Dragon is a show that I like that basically recently went under the Critical Role umbrella.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, as a network, they've got some pretty cool stuff going on. They always do content. They do a variety streaming and video game night. They have kind of similar content every once in a while, interview formats similar to what you might see on Dropout. So they're kind of doing their own Geek and Sundries. It's been in the works forever, but there's more than just the CR campaigns. There's some pretty cool stuff out there. Same thing with Dropout and etc. And Adventure Zone, all of the above, right? But in any case, we're here to talk about Anime Boston 2023, 24, and 25. 2025, we have a countdown, is in 61 days, 11 hours, and 46 minutes. And we have notes because we did our dry run yesterday. So the one thing that we talked about yesterday that I think we can kind of compartmentalize and clean up a little bit was the new guidelines last year's updated guidelines for media interviewing VOs. And what we discovered in our confusion, because that is sort of like our bread and butter here as far as the content that we cover at ESP, is interviewing the VOs. We've done some amazing interviews with voice actors from years past. We talked about Sarah Natochenny, who, when I interview VOs, I like to ask the hot ones questions, right? So something that's unorthodox. So it was really nice to get a shout out from Sarah Natochenny for asking her about her time as an MSNBC contributor and as a leading role in 12th Night during her run as in a local theater production, podcasts that she's been on, etc. So I heard her ask questions like that. It's a good time. We had a great time in 2023, and you did as well, Ange. I don't know if you have any fond memories from interviewing the VOs in 2023. I think you had a couple of stories or about your interview style.
Yeah, no, similarly, I I like to also kind of like to go off the beaten path, if you will, when it comes to interview questions, because everybody's going to ask very similar questions that a lot of voice actors hear so often. The memory that sticks out from 2023,
the ones that are like the generic questions.
The memory for me was Dante Basco, because he did a piece of content with Achievement Hunter that I really enjoyed. So I asked him what that was like, because playing Monopoly live on basically that was shown on YouTube was, for real money, was just kind of a really odd piece of content, but also really fun to watch. And he talked about that whole generation, if you will, of new media, like the web shows and whatnot. It was Achievement Hunter was effectively owned by Warner Brothers at the very end, and then went away this past year.
Yeah, I think we had mentioned last time during the pre-stream that it's one of those things for me, like Achievement Hunter was something I always heard about, people always talked about, but it never actually came across my desk to sound official, meaning I just never got around to watching it. But earbugs, right? Everyone is always discussing it.
Most of the people are doing other things, whether that's independent shows, Twitch streaming.
Yeah.
And they're doing similar content or podcasts, but
well, the reason we're talking about this, by the way, before we go back to 2023, the reason we're talking about this is the updated guidelines for 2024 that had said that only musical guests and other maybe cosplay guests, etc., were going to have panels. I believe it was mostly the musical guests, and I want to talk about them as well too. But before we get into the specifics of talking to the musical guests from 2024, we were kind of scratching our head because for us at ESP, there was just, as good as the musical acts are, there was very little connection and advance being made by our community. Our community is with the TTRPG community, the TTRPG world. We're very much connected to, we mentioned Critical Role, Dimension 20, Dropout, right? Adventure Zone. Because there's so much crossover between VO work and the TTRPG community specifically, and what the TTRPG community has flourished and blossomed into, there's a lot of crossover there. There's a lot of opportunity, and you know this just from the people we've met and the people you've met at PAX and at TTRPG panels and how-to panels. There's a lot of crossover there. Not so much for us with the music, as amazing as the musical guests were. I had personally never heard of some of the music. I know the guests from 2024. I listened to them at the convention and like the week leading up to it. But Ange, I know that what you talked about as well, you had been familiar with some of the musical acts yourself, right?
Bingo.
Yeah, in advance, where I was not.
I watch a lot of anime. And with that comes every anime has an opening theme and an ending theme.
Yep.
And when one stand out to me, I look them up on I watch the credits, I look them up on Spotify, and I have a playlist dedicated to anime intros and endings.
That's awesome. Well, you have AnimeZingRadio, so that sounds much more topical for your audience, I think, in a good way.
And
that made sense.
We've had like almost entire shows where we will rabbit hole down a specific band that did the score for a specific show that the guys loved and I hated.
Yeah.
But I agreed with them. The soundtrack was amazing, and the band Creepy Nuts came on my radar as a direct result.
Oh yeah, Creepy Nuts from Dante. And we're going to talk about Dante later as we review the 2025 lineup for VO. So stick around for that. That's going to be interesting. Go ahead. And subsequently, for us, over at AnimeZingRadio, it was definitely a change, and we questioned, the why, but we're like, okay, we're gonna make the most of it, and we'll still come out with some good content. Yeah, from interviewing the musical guests.
Right. And the one that stood out was the band Babybeard.
Babybeard, yeah.
I was familiar with them. I love them. And they were hilarious
Yeah.
in the interview process, and
Babybeard as fronted by Ladybeard, the idol group.
Yes, and they did, and because the girls, one of them speaks some English, the other barely any. So they had a translator
plus Ladybeard. Yep.
Yeah,
who I believe is bilingual.
He is bilingual, and he is Australian.
That's right. I do remember this in passing.
His first language is, in fact, if I remember correctly, English. Just Aussie English as opposed to American English.
Yeah. Yep. All the vernacular and slang from Australia.
And so that was the interview that stood out. The other musicians, all primarily not Japanese, but living in Japan, just ended up there. They told their stories of how they ended up in Japan, how they ended up working on some big anime, and it was good. And it was good content. Not the same as the voice actors, but definitely still interesting. But like you say, that's not the kind of content that you from ESP
right
100% relate to.
Right.
Definitely a degree of separation, if you will.
Yeah, that it felt like that was perfect for Anime Zing, whereas we just didn't have that musical connection with our audience, really, because it's TTRPGs, and there's an element of social justice and social progress and discussion of that in there as well. So, and then it's was music as amazing and can be used for that. It was just, here's our one thing. But what we discovered, one of our admins who was at the protests for the SAG-AFTRA strike in Los Angeles. I know everything is very hush-hush because of the negotiations, which are still ongoing, by the way, and we have an update from March 11th that we're going to share. But as far as our co-admins and co-owners of ESP believe that it had something to do, likely, we could be totally wrong, we're just speculating here, with the SAG-AFTRA strikes, because there was a big gap while negotiations were ongoing between December of 2023 and March-April of 2024, and they made another, I think they had another big assembly, if I'm reading this correctly, in June of 2024. So that was right in that window, and we were like, okay, that makes a lot of sense why
it totally
they didn't host the panels.
And a lot of voice
completely
actors,
understandable.
I know just from watching some semblance of news that, you know, actors, and that does extend to voice actors, were being told not to talk to anybody, not to even do promotional stuff for the content that was already finished.
Very tight with legal.
So yeah, if Anime Boston
legal and PR,
that makes perfect sense. And Anime Boston trying to be upstanding and offer their press something.
Yeah, and the union reps too. And it was great. It just so we talked about how it was a perfect opportunity for you, but just because there was no crossover there, what we did is we were actually able to enjoy the convention for the first time in a long time and be able to get out there and mix and mingle with the vendors, the artists, the con goers, the other creators and media that had attended. We got to meet up with them and just talk shop and make some professional and personal connections across the board, and that was actually really nice because we hadn't been able to do that since 2018, 19 or so, when we first started covering Anime Boston professionally or from a media standpoint. So it was nice to be able to like take a little bit of a step back and just sort of enjoy the convention and then come back like we do every year and talk about it. So that was a pretty cool experience. But you also mentioned that in 2024 again. Yeah, let me just double check. Okay. You also mentioned that last year, though, I believe you said that Shibuya Kaho did a panel?
Yes.
That you liked? Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah, she did. I follow a lot of Japan vloggers on YouTube, and Shibuya Kaho Shibuya Kaho has done some content with one of them, and she talks a little bit, and she occasionally talks about her past in the sex work industry.
Yeah, hell yeah, we support sex workers on this channel. Past, present, and or future.
So she spent some time in that industry, and then moved on to just kind of other silly, fun YouTube content.
Yeah. That's cool that she would talk about that at the panel. That's rare, but I applaud that. That's awesome.
And she talked a little bit about what it was like, different struggles as being a female.
Yeah.
In Japan, in that industry.
Yep, and mostly what I understand is a mostly male-dominated space across the board, both in Japan and the U.S.
And then we got permission from her and her handler, agent, I'm not sure, the person who was in charge.
Yeah, yes.
We got all the necessary permissions.
/agent, yeah.
We got all the necessary permissions to record that panel, so that is up
Perfect.
On the Anime Radio.
We love shameless plugs. Go check it out. Yeah, and we're gonna. This will all be in the description. Remind me to put a link to that video in particular in there.
But yeah, no, and then Q&A time, and all the questions are kind of coming from all the different facets. And that to me was just one of the best panels.
Yeah.
Just because of A, how insightful it was for the content, and B, I mean, this was a few months leading into my trip to Japan, so getting some insight just from someone living there was just awesome.
So you went between 2024 and this year? And today's recording?
The end of October 2024, we got home November 2nd.
Did you post photos in the Discord?
I may or may not have. My husband took all the photos.
Oh my gosh, can you please post some photos? Because I went in 2017 and I would love to see your experience. I went with my university. It was a study tour exchange program, so study tour 2 weeks, right, as we know. Study tour is famous / infamous, but no, we had an excellent study tour run by shout out to Professor Wing Kaito at Bridgewater State University, my alma mater. Go Bears, sports and stuff, but but it was a good time, and it was very well organized. We met with a cultural delegation in Ina City and Nagano Prefecture, and they hosted us for a drinking party. It was awesome. It's a lot of fun. Everything from a simple cultural exchange program run by sort of local historians to conveyor belt sushi to izakayas to trolling downtown Matsumoto with Senpai, our TA, our travel assistant. You have on a big trip like that, instead of RAs, you'll have the TAs. But his partner was in Kyoto, so we were able to meet up with him and his partner, who was amazing. She was super cool. She showed us all the locales in Kyoto with her friends. So that was a lot of fun, and yeah, it's pretty cool. What was you have any fun stories from your trip there? Any fun events or people that you met with?
We went just me and husband.
Shout out to Kana and Eri, by the way. Go ahead, sorry.
And this time, because we did our honeymoon there in 2018, we did 14 days in Tokyo, in the greater Tokyo area. Post-COVID, very different.
I bet, yeah.
And we split it up. We started in Osaka.
I love Osaka. It's so pretty there.
Osaka. It is.
Did you go on the bridge and see the Ferris wheel? Did you also get food on the strip?
The biggest food disappointment.
Like, there's a story here.
The biggest food disappointment was I got bad takoyaki.
No.
It was undercooked.
Did you get sick?
No, I just gagged and couldn't eat it.
Okay, right. We had okonomiyaki, and which was recommended by the locals.
we had that too. That was delicious.
Yep, we probably went to the same place if you got okonomiyaki in Osaka.
And then we did Osaka, Kyoto, and overnight in Hakone.
Oh yeah, we didn't go to Hakone.
And then a night in Tokyo, and then a week in Tokyo.
Yeah, if you have the chance to go back and go into the mountains, I definitely recommend it. If you have any way to do that, I was so incredibly blessed to be able to do that, because the mountains where there's just a few people and it's not a big city is incredible. And also, I'm gonna pull up Shuji Isawa because he is our most famous alumni as for that exchange program. So Shuji Isawa was look him up. He was the first officially sanctioned Japanese student to come to America, learn at an American university in the process of a cultural exchange, and document everything personally and bring that back to Japan to sort of cross-reference and cross-document the experiences at an American university. So Shuji Isawa, hugely popular. We went to his house and saw all of everything is preserved by their historical society. Very cool. Sorry, so shout out for BSU, but we're getting a little bit off the rails. We'll come back. Oh yeah, so the update from March 11th. Now, of course, as we know, there's all kinds of issues with AI. AI, especially, and AI art is art theft. We're very strong and forward about our opinions on that at ESP. And it's the same way with talent theft. And it's also removing or attempting or poised to remove or reduce the need for voice actors. And these voice actors, these guests are people that we, at PAX Unplugged, we have drinks with them. At PAX East, we'll chat with them on the show floor, right? Same thing with Unplugged if they're around. In 2022, we just the big group that I was with happened to bump into Erika Ishii. That was cool. Somebody in the group had met her before, so yeah, things like that. And then on a professional level, we interact with them regularly as press and media and content creators. So we get to know them, they get to know us, they recognize some of us, are like, oh hey, well, good to see you again, what's going on? They're able to talk to media in a way that there is that sort of, regardless of how big your channel is, there is that sort of professional understanding. So it's a lot easier to have normal conversations or casual conversations. And that's one of the best things about the convention community. That all being said, AI is a big problem. And we all know this.
And that is where
the new strikes come in. So we don't know if we're going to be able to interview VOs again, but go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, just exactly that. I have my own stories about meeting other content creators from doing conventions as press.
Yeah, it's a great community. Really great community.
It really is.
There are some toxic people that people have pointed out to me, like in media, that are just like wildly unhinged. But that's a different story for another podcast. We'll have to bring Distal's Place on and talk about their experiences.
But for the community as a whole is fantastic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just use your gut check.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
because that's harming. That's harming people we know like on more than just a con goer and guest event. It's like these are people we work with regularly.
Yeah, and to see these people struggle with the broad AI issue, it's like
their livelihood.
That's someone's career. That's their livelihood, and that is just it's not okay.
Yeah, it's unthinkable, almost unreal where we're at in society with tech and everything like that, and how people that we've come to at least call peers and colleagues, right? Are having their livelihoods threatened. And we talked about before, I've done contract VO work before. I'm still in the middle of a contract that I'm under NDA for a games studio. And it's kind of, I'm not SAG-AFTRA, so it's kind of a mess, right? I believe none of us are, a couple of us might be, but not everybody in the VO group are SAG-AFTRA. So we're doing these independent contracts on our own, and there's a lot of stuff to negotiate, and it's hard to advocate for yourself. So SAG-AFTRA is and the union, it's great. They really have our peers and colleagues and the VO talents, industry's talent in mind at first and foremost, and they're really aggressive at fighting, as they should be. So yeah, whatever happens. It'd be great to talk to the VOs again, but with that's the most recent update, is there's still discussions as to what's going on with AI as of March 11th. So this is kind of like late breaking news, is that there's still ongoing discussions, and maybe TBD there will be another strike, so we don't know. But either way, regardless of what happens, we understand and we support our voice actors, our peers and our colleagues, and the media industry and the entertainment industry, regardless of how big creator channels are. You get to a certain point where you start to get to develop a professional relationship with some of the guests, and again, they recognize you, you recognize them, you create great content together, and it's just a shame that what's happening with AI. But yeah, we support SAG-AFTRA, we support our VOs. If we can interview them this year, great. If not, because of SAG-AFTRA, totally understand. But that's our little disclaimer, and I think that's really all we have on that. What the hell did we talk about next? Hold on, I gotta bring up my notes. Yes, okay. So yeah, you would think that I would follow the bouncing ball there. That we were gonna talk about 2025. Okay.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of, there's some really good guests listed for 2025.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, here we go. We had a lot of great conversation on our guests, and this will fill out the rest of the show. Okay. Alrighty. So we had a funny talk about this because we went through the guest list this year in anticipation. Part of what we do every year, we said, like, all right, who's on the guest panel? Who's going to be there for the musical guests, cosplay guests, VO industry guests? Piggybacking off of what we just talked about, Jill Harris was the first, but sometimes I realize that I've never seen any of the works of a particular VO, and that's okay. And Jill Harris, I'm so sorry, because I haven't seen of course the pilot of Has Been Hotel was awesome. So Magne, Charlie, but it's been a long time since I've seen it. I don't know if I'm pronouncing Magne right, but Charlie, Morningstar, and the pilot of Has Been Hotel, because I know they changed VOs from the pilot to the actual show, right? It was a whole different cast.
I don't know. Has Been Hotel is the one thing that that's one I never got interested in. Has
Been Hotel and the pilot, my roommates had it on in the background while I worked. I'd never seen Black Clover. We're gonna come back to Black Clover, but she plays Noelle Silva in Black Clover. Mandalay and My Hero Academia. Bad with name associations.
Nino Nakano in Quintessential Quintuplets, which I've heard a lot about, never actually seen.
Oh, Mandalay. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And then looking through this, Aurora Bellafiora in Overlord.
Yep. Oh, and we talked about how cringe the first episode of Overlord was, and how I couldn't get into it because I was like, nope. But you said you stuck with it though, and it kind of redeemed itself a little bit.
It got better. It got
better. It didn't redeem itself.
Episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's again, it
interesting piece of media.
It falls into some of the same tropes, like just from that whole stuck in a game bit.
Yeah. But hey, Witch of Mercury, Mobile Suit Gundam Witch of Mercury was amazing. My ex-partner had put that on one night, and I was also working at the time, but I ended up like getting sucked into it about like 20-30 minutes in, because it was just so amazing. Yeah, but we couldn't figure out whether it was on Netflix or Crunchyroll that he put it on, but I thought it was on Netflix, but it was great. And Soletta Mercury.
It was fantastic. I loved it. It basically went on the watch list because I like mecha anime, I like Gundam, and that was just so good.
Yeah. Anyway, I want to compliment everyone on their headshots. Everyone's got great headshots. All right, Jill Harris, Dallas Reed. Okay, another one. So we looked up. We were talking about tying into the TTRPG world and to D&D, and I saw Black Clover again. I was like, let's talk about Asta. And I pulled up. Great character design, and I know you have some thoughts on Black Clover because you've read it but not seen it. Is that right?
I'm currently reading the manga.
Reading the manga. Yep.
Because there's just too many episodes. I do not have that kind of time, but with a Kindle that can handle manga, I can read a couple chapters in bed.
Yep. Kindle's
and
great.
So that's that. And so that's how I've been doing it, and the manga so far is fantastic.
Well, I haven't seen the anime either, so we'll get back to you next year, and we'll probably have watched it by then. Go ahead. Sorry, you said you were going to say about Asta.
No, it's just Asta's a fantastic character, so
yeah. Well,
yeah.
like I said, we'll watch the anime and we'll get back to you. But again, just some of the animes that you think I would have seen. Le Queer. I just want to say that I hope the name is Le Queer because we're queer on this channel. Our channel is super queer, super witchy. Super LGBTQI2S plus friendly. Wherever you are on the spectrum, there's a home for you. We love you, we see you, and we're queer AF here. We're queer as fuck. Dragon Ball Super, I've never seen. My brother was watching that when it first came out, but I completely missed it and didn't catch up on it. And of course, Juso and Nirengeki in My Hero Academia. So again, and I really want to see Dragon Ball Super, but you said you hadn't seen that one either. But I think you were telling me about Dragon Ball and how in your first
Dragon Ball got introduced to me
Ball.
in college. I did not like it, and subsequently, I just kind of, because I didn't like Dragon Ball, I kind of avoided the entire franchise.
Yeah, so and we mentioned that my brother watched the original Dragon Ball because he's 6 years older than me, and he is like Gen X, millennial cusp.
And same.
Yeah, I'm past the Gen X cutoff, and in freshman year, we talked about this. This is a great story. In freshman year of high school in 2000, after I would come home and watch Dragon Ball Z on Toonami in 2001, and we followed it as it was live.
And that is 100% where those couple years of an age difference actually are relevant because I grew up not having cable. Like 2000 is when I finished high school, started college.
Yeah.
And subsequently it was like I am just a couple years too old for the Toonami.
Yeah. It was so good though. It was so good. I'm telling you. You missed out. We've
talked buried somewhere. We have talked. Doug, Darren, and I are all from different age generation brackets. So we've actually talked about on air the whole where everything was when we first got into anime.
Yeah.
And
that's a great conversation. We'll have to do that as a big group on your channel.
Oh yeah, no, definitely we can do that at some point. But
heck yeah. All right, let's see who else we got. Of course, Anairis Quinones, and I believe it's Anairis, and I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Anairis Quinones, LA-based voice actor, Mirko in My Hero Academia. I was having a wicked brain fog moment yesterday when we were talking about this, but Mirko is the bunny girl, and we talked about where the heck I am in My Hero Academia, and I had seen all of the clips of Mirko because I love the character of Mirko, and I remember the handle now of our good friend Daniela Marte over at Loveless X Spirit, the channel Loveless X Spirit, also cosplays Mirko, and I believe if you're seeing this, Anairis, I believe that you had met at a meet and greet about her cosplay, so that's just a really cool story there. But yeah, her cosplay is amazing, her content is amazing. We're all actually, my partner made the connections, but friends from outside with both Love the Sex Spirit, ourselves, my partner Nelly, Fancy Strawberry, and Latina Otaku, all part of like the same circle of friends group as well locally, so that's really cool. And yeah, but a lot of really cool stuff here. Mirko, best character, though I stopped watching My Hero Academia after the concert, after they did the concert, which is I think when she actually formally joined the show and did a lot more appearances. I think she showed up once or twice before that on camera, real quick. But I think after that episode, if I recall correctly, was when we really started seeing more of Mirko.
Yep, and definitely My Hero Academia. I know multiple people who absolutely love it.
I heard the ending has some problems.
It's not over yet.
Okay, all right.
What appears to be the final season, because the manga I believe just finished or is about to finish. I forget which.
Mm-hmm.
But the what may very well be the final season is due out later this year.
Okay.
But the anime is actually, like, there are certain story arcs that are really good. I highly recommend for anyone who got to the point of, okay, I'm done watching this for now, I highly recommend going back and watching the villain arc.
Mm-hmm.
But
which one is the villain arc?
It is.
Did I see that? Or is it after?
It is after.
Okay. Yeah, although I really like the United States of Smash. That was cool. And I love seeing all the reactions to that when it happened. Like, people flipping chairs over. That was my reaction. There's this one great where the guy is like, I think he broke the side of his gaming chair.
Yep, there's a lot of cool moments in the later story arcs. So if you get a chance, go back to it.
Yeah. Also, and again, this is the thing we laughed about. I was like, I haven't seen Jujutsu Kaisen or Demon Slayer. And I feel like I'm a bad media, like pop culture media content creator because I haven't seen these two things. But like, I cannot get into Demon Slayer. I'm so sorry.
You know what? You are not the only one. That's actually a story.
Okay, all right, let's hear it.
On AnimeZingRadio, the three of us, we give each other. Part of the shtick is we give each other a hard time for our choices in anime.
Yeah.
Demon Slayer is one that I watched part of the first season and then just had zero free time.
Yeah.
I need to go back to it because I actually was enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
And they give me a hard time because they're like, yeah, pick better anime. And Doug even said he watched the first few episodes and just decided it wasn't for him.
Yeah.
And then gives me a hard time
after the first episode.
And then he went on a spiel about how it's overrated, overly popular, and not as good as some underrated shows that were out at the same time.
I know this is like one of the easiest things for like the worst people on the internet to rebut, and I know they have memes for days for it, but I don't care. I don't like that they have her in a little box. That never sat right with me. I know it's for reasons, but
and you know what? That is 100% valid.
And I'm like, it made me. It just didn't vibe with me. But in any case, I know people really like it. The show.
No, it's definitely a good. I definitely am enjoying it. That said, that's one of those ones that is not for everybody, and that's okay.
And she's Hinatsuru in Demon Slayer, by the way.
Jujutsu Kaisen.
I never see it. It's on my list, but I know it's like the most popular anime ever after
and for me, just
2010 is when it got popular again.
Just reading the little blurb, I'm like, okay, this is not for me. Jujutsu Kaisen's been around for a while, and it's one of the ongoings.
When did it first get? Did it first get released in 2020? I'm gonna look at the. Hold on. I'm gonna original anime release date. Yeah, 2020. Let's see when the manga was, because I swear people were talking about the manga for like 10 years. Let's see, manga release date. No, I'm losing my mind. It was 2018. I think I'm counting. Yeah, that was after I started transitioning, which would make sense because it's like the before times are a weird blur. I was like, I remember people talking about this. It's also 2025, so that makes sense. People have been talking about it for 7 years now between the manga and everything. So, in a while. Wow, I feel old.
You and me both.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it looks like it's been around since the manga's been around since 2018.
Yeah. Also, Anairis is also a writer, director, and strong advocate for diversity and mental health. And we talked about in my professional day job career, because it's something that's paid the bills. Unfortunately, we're getting there. We're getting there slowly but surely. But yeah, I work in mental health, and I have been since 2018. I love seeing advocacy for the field, and I've always been a part of wherever I've been at. I've always been a part of, or headed, or chaired our agency's LGBTQIA2S plus initiatives as a queer, trans, lesbian myself. It was a great opportunity for me to jump into that. But just that's my area of expertise. I've always been involved with DEI initiatives, and they're not hurting anybody, despite the current administration's voice to the contrary. It's a net positive. DEI is a good thing. All it does is make sure that you're not just hiring white people through nepotism or favoritism or otherwise, and that because we talk a lot about privilege on our channel, in our community, on social media. It's nothing new. We need more of this. Hire more BIPOC voice actors. Hire more BIPOC writers, artists, directors. There's no reason to push back on that unless you're a horrible monster, which we know, like, hey, let's be real, a lot of the deep red folks who like a particular brand of red hats really are deep into just kind of hateful rhetoric, and it's really unfortunate. Which brings us to our next guest, one of my favorite voice actors, seems like an amazing person all around from everything I've seen. AJ Beckles, Afro-Latino voice actor from the Boston area, local, and we defend our own here. We defend our own. Got so much hate and shade on social media from that same outwardly hateful, racist, transphobic, misogynist crowd, the usual suspects that we've been dealing with since 2016, just for existing and daring to do exactly what we just talked about, to be a BIPOC voice actor on an anime, right? And it's so frustrating that we're here at this point, but I love seeing more. I love seeing more BIPOC voice actors, please. And we're very white. We're very white. I'm Irish. We talked a little bit about, you were raised white, as was I, but my grandfather came from San Miguel on the island, the Azores, in Portuguese, and Portugal, right? He's Portuguese. Tried to teach me Portuguese. We go to our festa, the Feast of the Blessed Sacrament, every year, and it's the largest gathering of Portuguese people outside of Europe and outside of Portugal. It's a national festival, and it's great to celebrate that culture. And we talked about Pale Hispanic Gang, because that was my grandfather was very brown. But it's a weird thing with Portugal, even the Azores, because even though you're like subtropical island, there's still, are we European, or are we, how are we identifying? I think that was sort of one of our generational decision from our ancestors, our grandparents, and my great grandparents were immigrants from San Miguel and the Azores in Portugal. I still have their documents, and there was this cultural drive at the time to like blend in with Americans as best as they could. So, to my understanding, a lot of that was, we're European. So they kind of like diluted themselves and their culture a little bit, but it's pretty strong down in South Coast, Massachusetts, where I grew up, and I was raised by my friend's parents Portuguese, because my grandfather unfortunately passed away when I was very young. But my home base, my parents were still very much white bread, like Irish, right? So we have a lot of privilege, and it's not hard to do a little bit of work and acknowledge these things, and push for more BIPOC voice actors in anime, in gaming, in movies. Like, come on.
Exactly. My story So I found out. So I was adopted. I was given up for adoption as an infant. I was born in December, given to my adopted parents in January. And I was raised extremely white Catholic in New England.
You and me both.
But post-adoption means up until the laws changed, I knew very little about my biological parents other than that they were 18 years old when I was born.
Yeah.
Which is why I was given up for adoption. Flash forward 40 years, literally. And and because doctors are basically getting annoyed that I don't have a medical family history, and that was really what the driving force.
It's really hard to get that when you're adopted. But then you find out...
I find out through 23andMe that my biological mother, born in Puerto Rico, biological father, born in El Salvador, and my genetic makeup is less than 5% the white that I was raised as. Yeah,
well, I like to I like to cite and shout out Sunfire TV. We talked about them last time. Sunfire TV on TikTok is always talking about pale Hispanic gang, and I kind of like I can't even identify because I'm only 25%, right? It was my grandfather who passed when I was very young, but that's something I definitely recommend checking out her content. It's pretty great.
The percentage is I'm basically just under 70% Hispanic.
That's a lot more than me.
And
more than my 25% Azorian.
Subsequently, my appearance is very, 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 very white. But it's all been a learning. It's all been that whole learning curve and self-identification and basically looking at how people are being treated and the stereotypes and everything, and it's just like everyone.
I just want to put her stuff up on the page. Sorry, go ahead.
And everybody, regardless of race, religion, skin color, sexuality, gender, like everyone should be treated with basic human decency unless the individual person gives you a reason not to.
Absolutely. That's our whole mission here at ESP. We gotta just move on real quick just because we're running out of time. Kaiji Tang! Also, shout out to Kaiji Tang here for holding Frostmourne in. Look at the grin. The grin is because he's holding Frostmourne. Patrick, that's Frostmourne. Right? We gotta do the SpongeBob meme there. But yeah, avid lover of gaming and food. Me too. LA based. We talked about Megalobox and we watched the trailer, but we don't have time to do it, unfortunately. Or we could wrap up with that if we have 5 minutes. But more Jujutsu Kaisen.
And you missed the Dante.
And Demon Slayer. Oh yeah, that's right. And also Kaiji Tang, Guts from Berserk. Going back real quick, AJ Beckles. So the heat that he got for no reason from the usual Red Hat crowd, right? All of that BS was because of his voice, his incredible work, by the way, as Okarun in Dan. So, and also Takemichi Hanagaki in Tokyo Revengers. I heard really good things about Tokyo Revengers. And of course, Digimon, Classic, Bleach 1000 Year, Blood War, various characters in Honkai Star-Rail, also very popular amongst the trans community. But yeah, Dan is amazing. I love Dan. It's so good. I want to cosplay Granny. 100% she's on my cosplay list. It's amazing. Love Dan. Love AJ Beckles' work in Dan. Go watch it. Yeah, it's awesome. Go and go give some love to Anairis Quinones and AJ Beckles on social media. Follow them, like their content, retweet their content, support their stuff, etc. All of the above.
And regardless if it's a voice actor we've talked about, if you like their work, give them some love and support in whatever way you can, even if it's just a follow on socials.
100%. Alrighty, and back to my boy here with the with Frostmourne. But Megalobox. I think we can Megalobox trailer. I think we could probably end with that.
Because that's
a trailer or something.
That is a fun anime. Honestly, one of my favorites.
Yep, and Guts Guts from the Berserk 2016, by the way. And yeah, holding a sword, great choice, right? Perfect. I haven't seen that. I've seen, I think, clips from that particular iteration of Berserk, but not the whole thing.
But who doesn't love giant swords?
Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, I have a giant sword tattooed on my arm. It's the Buster Sword from Final Fantasy VII and a rose for Aerith. It's my first tattoo when I went to Anime Boston 06. But, well, check out the... Actually, I want to talk about nostalgia moments real quick. So, my favorite nostalgia moment from Anime Boston was 2006 when we had arrived, and it was at the same year of Twilight Princess and within the same time frame as Assassin's Creed. So there were professional parkour artists in Boston actually climbing and scaling up the walls of the architecture outside of Boston Commons. And I miss Flamers and Panda Express. In 2006, that was my first time. We went to Flamers, Panda Express, when we were having Flamers that one time. We went outside in the courtyard. It was a beautiful day. It was in May, because Anime Boston's in May this year. And it was amazing because there were actual parkour artists climbing up. I think a police officer had to come by and tell them to get down. But your favorite memory from Anime Boston in general?
In general, honestly, just the cosplay meetups overall.
Yeah. Those are a lot of fun. I love the cosplay meetups.
Just running this is not a story I told last night. 1 year. So, if you've ever seen the animated death battles, there's two of my favorite characters, Yang Xiaolong from Ruby versus Tifa from Final Fantasy VII, and the death battle. And so what I did was, as Yang, I invaded the Final Fantasy photo shoot because my friend was running it, and then picked a fight with my friend who was cosplaying Tifa. Just a staged thing, and pictures got taken, and we just all started laughing hysterically.
Cosplay meetups are a great opportunity to make new friends, to connect, to network, and have great photo opportunities like these stage fights. And I'm glad that was a memory that stood out, because those as well. For me, it was like just being with my friends and connecting with people, connecting with peers, and just awesome, amazing people.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot too. We're a lot more brief this time. We covered a lot, but I think that's a good time to take us through the outro. So, because I have an appointment right after this. So, Ange, tell us a bit about your work. And I know my camera's freaking out right now. I think it's because there's a trailer playing in the background, but it's only on our screen. So I'm sorry for the distraction. But go ahead, tell everybody where they can find you via AnimeZingRadio.
Anime Zing Radio is on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We are live Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Audio versions are also available wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to follow me on socials for pictures of my travels, of my food experiments. You can follow me on socials. Instagram and Blue Sky is Lady Angela Rose. Okay.
Alrighty. Lady Angela Rose and AnimeZingRadio. All that, the details will be in the description. As for us, I have been your Road of Naruto. I just autoplayed. That's funny. I have been your host, Essy, or Aaron Spencer. Let's go back to look at all the guests. Yep. Okay. 61 days, 10 hours, 54 minutes, and 32 seconds. We gotta run, but yeah, to wrap up everything, check out our channel. We're queer, we're witchy, and we really believe in doing everything we can to highlight the best of our ability, highlight, cast, and promote BIPOC, Latino, AXO, Latina, Latino, Latinx, Latine voices, AANHPI voices. Wherever we can get folks involved, we want to. Spread the word. With casting, there's a strong preference for that here for our casting for shows. So if you know anybody that is maybe even just trying to break in to do some light media work, some TTRPG APs, send the word out. And otherwise, we're queer, we're witchy, we're very trans positive, we're a safe space for trans folks. So come on in and join us. If any of that resonates with you, we love gaming, anime, tabletop role-playing games, all kinds of cool, fun, nerdy stuff. Check us out. We'll post our link tree down in the description. Say hi, join the Discord, come chat with other like-minded individuals. We love you very much. Stay safe out there. Use your privilege if you've got it to help others however you can, whatever that looks like. It's unprecedented tough times out there, so stay safe. We love y'all very much. Thank you again, Ange, and we'll see y'all on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye, everybody, and thank you, Ange. All right.
Thank
That
you.
is a wrap. We'll go to the outro.